Hi everyone. Today we are going to go over one of the most commonly used forms in our office, which is the Arrears Management Program Packet. And so this is also called a DHS 681. It is a form to be able to be used to fill it out and possibly get some state owed arrears waived. So this would be money that is owed to the state of Michigan, that is owed because the children were receiving TANF or cash assistance at some point, and the person who owes that money is no longer going to be able to pay back those arrears, and because they have some form of a financial hardship. So the process of filling out this form is to fill out this form and then submit it to the friend of the court at the Genesee County friend of the court or your local friend of the court office to see if you may qualify. The friend of the court then will review the document, and then they'll determine whether a financial hardship exists per the state's policies, and if it does, then those arrears can be administratively removed from the case. This will not impact any arrears or money owed to the family. It just makes it so it's much more likely that we can get money going to the family if there are arrears owed to the family, because there won't be any money in the way that's owed to the state. The family always gets paid first, but if somebody thinks that they owe $75,000, and at the end of the day they only owe $10,000 because that's all they owe to the family, that's a much easier number to be able to overcome. And that's what we've seen the most success in, is when the number gets really, really high and it gets to the point where someone is discouraged and they believe that they're never going to be able to pay all that money back. And then they go and fill out the arrears management paperwork, and they get a large amount of the money waived that's owed to the state of Michigan, and then they get re-engaged and they start paying their support again regularly, and that money goes to the family. And that's always the goal, is to get the money into the family's hands. So today we're going to go over how to fill out the arrears management packet. All right, so it looks like this. You can find this on our website, and that website now is the www.geneseecountymi.gov. We are switching to a new website. If you go to the old one, no problem. We'll still be able to get to our website. But this is under our forms section. So, and again, it is the request to discharge state owed debt. On the arrears management policy or arrears management program is often what this can be referred to, or it could be referred to the DHS 681. This is the state of Michigan form. This is not a local friend of the court form, but it is processed by the local friend of the court office. So this is the state's policy. The state's policy is that if there is a certain financial hardship, that someone who owes arrears to the state of Michigan may be able to fill out this form, have the friend of the court review it, and then possibly get those arrears waived. So it's a good option for anyone who feels like they're way behind and they don't feel like they're going to be able to get caught up, or they're overwhelmed with the amount that's owed. Good idea to reach out to the friend of the court, see if some of that might be state owed debt, and see if it might be possible to get this form filled out and get that processed. There's also a process called through the motion process of motioning the court, where you could fill out an arrears payment plan, which would be that you would make payments for a 2-year time period, and then after that 2-year time period, then you would possibly get some state owed arrears waived that way. This is a much faster process, and is something that doesn't require filing a motion, so we recommend that people check this one out first. If that doesn't work, then they can always file the motion and go in front of the court and see if the arrears payment plan is a better option for them. But again, there are some strict guidelines that we need to follow from the state of Michigan, and we will go over those guidelines and use their calculator because it is their policy once we get information. So not everyone is going to qualify based on their situation. So over here, we're going to start cruising through the form. So the personal information here is for the person who is the payer of support, the person who owes the state owed arrears, who is looking at a possible waiver. Okay, so that's who we're gonna be putting in the information for. So obviously these are all fake numbers, but we'll put in some basic information, and then if you put in some information over here. Again, if you don't have a driver's license number, that's okay. We're just trying to get some basic information to make sure that we're looking up the right case and that we know who we're working with here. Also, put in your address. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is just making sure that the address that we have at the front of the court is always the accurate and best address, because everything is going to be sent out to whatever address we have on file. So if you fill out the address paperwork here and you put your address here, we'll be able to update the system, and we'll be able to make sure that document gets, and any information regarding any possible arrears waivers also are sent to that address. Email is becoming an increasingly popular way for us to communicate with families, and we highly recommend that everyone make sure that they use their when they fill out the forms, that they're putting email addresses in there. It's huge. It makes it so much faster for us to be able to communicate with the families that we're serving. So highly recommend that. If we have questions, we also would be following up by phone or email. So make sure that we get that information as well. And that's what we would want to put that information. Okay, now custodial party name or docket numbers, if you know them. And like this form is all about, what do you know? What information do you have? If you don't have it, that's okay. We can gather this information after we look up your case. But if you've got any information about the custodial party, or if you've got your case numbers, please put them in here. Now, the type of case numbers that they're looking for here are the ones that start with a year. So you're likely going to have more than one case number. You're going to have your 4D case number, which is usually going to start with a 9, or it's going to start with a 25. And then there is the docket number, or the court case number. That's usually going to start with a year. So that's going to be something like 2012 3333333 DP, or something like that. DS, DM, something along those lines. DC. Okay, so that's what a docket number is going to look like. Generally speaking, it's going to look something along those lines. Okay, now we're digging a little bit further into the form. Okay, and what we're trying to gather here is, who lives with you, and is there income in the household? Remember, this is all about somebody not having the ability to pay back these arrears, right? So these arrears have grown too large, and the person doesn't have an ability or the financial means to be able to pay back those arrears. So that's what this whole form is trying to gather, is what's going on. Is there a situation where the person who owes this money isn't going to be able to pay it back? And so that's what the heart of what's going on here. So notice that it's asking for who lives with you in your household, including children. And so you may have a child living with you. Maybe it's an adult child. Maybe they are or are not paying any of the household expenses. So let's just say we've got Susan Doe. She's 21. She's a child or daughter, and she's not paying household expenses, right? So in this situation, it shows that, oh, yep, I've got somebody else. Or maybe it's a different type of situation where you do have maybe say like a roommate, and maybe you want to identify that. So you could say that, I'm living with Rebecca Smith, and she's 45. She's just a friend, and she does help pay some of the household expenses, right? And maybe that's a roommate situation. Okay, so could be either of these sorts of situations could be present, but again, the heart of the issue is trying to figure out what's going on, and how are you living, right? In your living situation, do you rent, own, or other? And then if it's other, putting a little bit more detail over here for what that sort of situation might be. Okay, so let's say we're renting. Now, if it was other, what sort of situation is that? Like, I'm some of the situations that we see are, I live with a parent, homeless, house to house. So those sorts of situations, it's a good place to identify that sort of situation here. So again, trying to get a picture of what's going on financially in this person's life. So for the purposes of this, we'll go with rent. Do you have any child support cases in any other states? So again, also trying to get a concept of what's the financial situation. Are you trying to pay not only the child support orders that we can see in the state of Michigan, but are there also child support orders in other states that should be relevant to this conversation? Okay, if you have that information, if you would click yes, and then which states that it's in and any case numbers that you have there. Not a super common situation that's going to come up, but if it does, please make sure to put that information in there. How much can you pay in current child support, and how much can you pay in past due support? So one of the things that's important to understand about how the child support program works is the child support order is often broken down into two parts. The current child support, which is the part that's in the uniform child support order that we've covered in previous videos, and that's the monthly charge that hits every single month. That's for when the child is a minor. When a child emancipates, or if there was money that was current support that was due but wasn't paid, then that can create past due support or arrears. And so then you could also end up with a monthly amount that should be paid towards the arrears. There is a calculator that determines how much that should be, but what this is asking you is how much can you pay currently based on what's going on in your family. So you may be able to say, I only have one minor child and I can pay that $100 a month or whatever it may be in your current court order for paying child support, but I can't pay any more than that. That's not based on what I'm earning right now. Okay, or whatever your situation. We're really just looking for a realistic picture of what's going on so that we can see if you qualify for the services that are available. And if you can't, we may be able to get you in touch with other services. So it's really important that all of this information is just honest and accurate so that we can connect you with the right services and the right resources. Would you be able to pay at least $1,000 at a one-time payment if the FOC matched the payment by discharging an equal amount? So one of the options is the main option is, can this all be waived? Right? Is there no ability to pay these state owed arrears, and could the whole thing be waived? That's first option. The second option is a matching payment situation where maybe you don't qualify to get the entire thing waived, but you would be able to qualify for getting a smaller amount waived. And in that situation, it would be a matched payment amount. So you make a payment of $1,000 and $1,000 gets knocked off. Again, this is only for state owed debt. This is never going to be used in a situation where that money is owed to the family. So in that scenario, maybe there's a little bit of money available, but not enough to pay off the $75,000 that may be owed or something along those lines. And so the conversation can move into the direction of, okay, I have the ability to make some sort of a payment, but I don't have that much. And so what could you pay if you can't make at least $1,000? Is there anything that you could pay to make a matching discharge? Okay. And again, we're just looking for accurate information here because we're trying to figure out if this is the program that you would qualify for. Obviously, as I just mentioned, there are two different arrears programs under this form that could be available, and then there's the state arrears payment plan where a motion would get filed. So we're just trying to get a picture of what's the appropriate resource to help you get you back on your feet and help get these support arrears paid down. Select your highest level of education. Again, trying to capture ability to pay information here. So, this is where we might be putting in, I've got some college, or I've got a high school diploma or a GAD. Just wanting to get some basic information about ability to pay. is there any sort of specialized job training or licenses that you may have? So, in this scenario, it could be, oh, yep, I've got CDL, or I have, I've been in a journeyman, electrician, any of that sort of information, okay? If not, if there's no specialized job training or licenses, then it would be no, all right? And so that's the sort of picture we're trying to, again, trying to get an accurate depiction of what's going on as far as ability to pay. Are you currently employed? Full-time, part-time, or unemployed? If you're unemployed, are you eligible for unemployment benefits? If not, why not? Okay, so again, really trying to get a picture of what's going on. So maybe you're unemployed and you are eligible for unemployment benefits, or you're not eligible for unemployment benefits, and then you're going to be indicating why here. Okay, so unemployed for too long, or some sort of didn't have enough hours, something along those lines. That sort of information is what's relevant there. So let's say that instead of unemployed, we've got part-time employment. If you've got a part-time employer, as I've indicated up above, for this fictional person, we want to put down where that's at, and an address if they have one. Okay, so we'll just say that we're working at McBurger, and and what the address is at McBurger, 456 Saginaw Street. Again, all fiction here, just trying to get an idea of what this is going to look like when it's completed. Okay, if you've got a phone number for that employer, helpful to put that there as well. Are you currently incarcerated, or in jail or in prison? If so, all of that information. We do have people who have child support cases with arrears, who might be in jail or in prison. If you are in jail or in prison, and you have a loved one who is in jail or in prison, and they have a child support case and it's currently charging that monthly charge, please notify the front of the court, because unless there's an ability to pay, that shouldn't be happening. Certainly filling out this form is a good step in the right direction, but also making sure that the front of the court's aware that that person is incarcerated, so that the current charge can stop if that's what's happening. Have you been incarcerated in the past? So again, all of this is trying to get to the heart of the issue of ability to pay. So if, for example, somebody had been incarcerated in the past and they were incarcerated for maybe an extended period of time, then that might be something that's making it difficult for them to be able to find employment. And we want to be able to, again, connect them to the right resources to say, oh, there are employers out there who will take a citizen who's reentering from prison. That's okay. So we just want to make sure that we connect you to the right resources and the right places that would be able to offer that information. So if we had something along the lines of, I went in 2012 and released in 2021. Okay, well, now we know that there was a big chunk of time where someone was incarcerated. Now we've got some relevant information here to be able to say what that family may need, and that person may have a challenge finding full-time employment. So we want to be able to make sure that we have that information available, because then we can then connect them to the appropriate resources. And right here is getting into the heart of that question, right? Is this, if you've answered question 11 as a yes, that yeah, I was previously incarcerated in jail or prison, is that making it difficult to find employment, right? And then if you say yes, maybe it's employers who are doing background checks, or maybe it's the check the box for felonies type stuff, and then we can explain how that process is changing and whatnot. So that's a sort of some useful information here to say, oh, that's background checks or something along those lines, making it difficult, something along those lines, right? Are you receiving Social Security payments? So if you are, this would be where you'd be able to put the type. Is it an SSI, a disability, or a retirement? Those are 3 different kinds, and that's going to be, this is all about getting to the idea of, is this means tested situation like SSI, or it could be one of these situations where it's disability or retirement, and that may mean that somebody did pay in and it's not means tested income, but we'll also be able to get an idea of what that situation is. Okay, and so again, all of this is really, I know that a lot of these questions sounds really invasive, but the goal here is to get good information so that we can figure out what this family needs. What does this person who is having a hard time paying their support obligation, what exactly is the situation? Get us a real picture of what's going on, and then we can start digging into how do we work with this family so that we can get those arrears paid down and get money to the family. So in this situation, I'm going to pretend this person doesn't have Social Security payments, but if they did, be able to say when they started receiving them, the type of payments that they're getting, whether the Social Security Administration has determined that they're permanently disabled, and then if so, please get that information to the front of the court. You can attach that to this form or send it in separately. Is there any other disability that you may have that's preventing you from working full-time or working at all? So maybe this is a situation where our individual here who's filling out this form, yep, they're only working part-time because they have a disability that is preventing them from working full-time. And so if that's the case, then we want to make sure that we attach documentation showing that. So something from a medical provider. We even have a form on our website that is a medical affidavit, so that you can use that form to get information from a doctor saying whether you do or do not have the ability to work full-time, or if you have limitations. So you don't even have to recreate the wheel there. We have that form on our website, medical affidavit, and you can find that form as well, and we may go over how to fill out that form at some other point, but most doctors are used to filling out that sort of form, so usually not a big problem getting those filled out. It's just a matter of getting it into the hands of the doctor, right? So you can go to our website, get that form, get that to your doctor or medical provider, and they'll be able to usually fill that out without any problem and get it back to our office. If we're receiving any type of public assistance, FIP, Medicaid, food stamps, any of that sort of information, please make sure to fill that out here. One of the things that a lot of times question just came up earlier this week with one of the caseworkers was, why don't you know this information? Aren't you part of the public assistance system? No, we're not part of the public assistance system. So the friend of the court is part of the court system, and we do get referrals from the state of Michigan as it relates to public assistance cases sometimes, but we don't have direct access necessarily or updated access to the public assistance information, and we certainly can't turn it on or off. So not on our own, at least. We can work with our DHHS partners to try to make that happen for families, and we do that, and we do help families try to get their public assistance information updated, but we don't always have the most up-to-date information, so we want to make sure that we are getting that information from the best source, which is the family. The family is likely going to be the place that has the best information about this, and so that's why we always ask for that information. If you're currently in a bankruptcy plan or in the process of filing for bankruptcy, we would want to know that. Again, we're all looking at, what is this all getting to? Ability to pay. Are there other situations going on in your life that's making it very difficult for child support to be handled? Child support's not, and spouse support, they're not waivable in bankruptcy court. So other debts may be something that could be discharged in bankruptcy, but not child support. So that's one of the things why it's really important to know, does somebody have a bankruptcy going on? Because if that's the case, well, that does change the picture a little bit. Are you expecting to receive money from a will, estate, or a trust? Are you currently living in a homeless shelter or taking part in a homelessness program? So if so, what sort of length of time has that been going on? It can also be helpful to let us know what facility that is or what program that is. We have a partnership with the homelessness court here in Flint, Genesee County, where we work with partners there who can also connect to even more resources. And so we just want to make sure, again, that we've got real and accurate information so that we can connect families to the appropriate resource in this community. And there are a lot of resources, and we just it's just a matter of getting everybody connected to the right place and making sure that they're getting the services that they need. In the past 6 months, have you been unable to pay medical bills for either for yourself or a family member that you must pay? Okay, so you can see that, you must pay is highlighted there or bolded there, because the idea is that we're trying to get at a picture of debts that you have that you just cannot get out of, right? And so have you been unable to pay other bills that you must pay? Okay, and a lot of times the reality is when somebody's filling out this form, the answer is yes. A lot of times it's there have been other bills that have had not be paid or maybe lapsed or are past due, because usually at the point that somebody's filling out this form, it's that things are not going well. And we recognize that, and so getting a picture of what's going on. So let's say, electric bill. It was an example of a bill that you must pay that I'm being unable to pay. Some bills there might be luxuries that maybe wouldn't be you must pay, but any bills, though, getting a picture of what's going on. Again, more information the better, because then we can connect you to resources. We know of other resources in the community that may be able to assist you, even if it's not something that we'll be able to specifically help you with. Do you spend time with your children on a regular basis, attend school activities, or exercise your court-ordered parenting time? So just trying to get an idea of, is that an issue in your family's life? Do we need to talk about parenting time services? Are we also seeing somebody who's trying to engage with their children and they're engaging with the child support program, but they're just having a financial difficulty, right? And that's who we want to help. We want to help everyone, but we want to make sure that people who are engaged with their family and they're just having a little bit of a financial trouble, we want to make sure that we're assisting them get through that difficult time. Do you care for your children while the other parent's at work or at school? If so, how many hours a week? So is this a situation? Well, this person working part-time. Is this person working part-time because they're caring for younger children during the day? That would be relevant information. Do you provide non-money support like transportation, clothing to your children? Is that something that's going on? Would you be willing to take a finance or budget class? There are resources in the community that offer these sorts of things. So is that something that you might be interested in if we were able to connect you? We have a lot of relationships with jobs programs. So if the reason why you're having a hard time is that you're just having a hard time finding a job, okay, well, we can connect you with some resources. We work with Michigan Works. We work with Mott Community College. We work with Flint Strive. We have lots of community partners who specifically help people get jobs. And so if that's the case, we want to know about that. Would you be willing to do volunteer work? And again, trying to get at, what can you do? Okay. So the monthly income information, right? So we're just trying to find out what a good picture of what's going on income-wise. So if working part-time, as our individual here is, with no other types of, they don't have a pension, they don't have workers' comp, they don't have unemployment, they're not receiving child support, they're not receiving spousal support, they're not receiving Social Security or veterans, all that sort of stuff. That's at least the person that we're talking about here that we're working on. So let's say that they say they're getting $1,000 a month working. Okay, again, fictitious numbers, but if you have somebody else who has some of these other things, this is where you're going to put this. So this is going to be child support that you're receiving from somebody else, not something that you're paying out. And this is spousal support that you're receiving from somebody else, not something that you're paying out. So just to get a picture of what the goal is there. Do you have a savings, checking, or non-retirement account? You know, if yes, what's the total amount you have? Again, looking at big picture ability to pay. Okay, wanting to make sure that we have a good idea of what's going on so that we can figure out whether, again, per the state's policy, do you qualify for this or do you qualify for some other program? And so that's what the goal is here. Do you have any retirement savings, such as a 401k? If yes, how much? So this isn't going to necessarily mean that you're going to be able to pay the arrears today, but maybe it means that this is going to be money available down the road, depending on the age of the person who's filling out this form, right? Do you own or lease a car or truck? So if yes, how many? Again, trying to get the sort of information. Even you can even also put like what vehicle it is. So if you say yes, I have a vehicle, but it's a 1997 Cavalier, right? So if that's the situation, now we have an idea. Yes, this person has a vehicle, but we're not talking about somebody driving around in a 2022 Mustang or something along those lines, right? Getting a picture of the situation. Okay, do you have any of these items worth over $500? And then again, just trying to get a concept of, you know, what's going on in this family, and is there ability to pay anywhere? Okay, so again, that's just trying to fill this out to the best of your ability, really trying to get an idea of ability to pay. This is what can become really valuable when filling this out, right? So obviously, once you filled your income information, we've got a pretty good idea of what's going on, and you've filled out the assets. But what the real story usually comes down to is, you know, especially as the cost of things go up, what may have seemed like enough money before to be able to support yourself isn't anymore because of these other things. And this filling out the monthly expenses really gives a good picture of what's really going on, right? So if you say, you know, okay, well, you know, rent's $700 and electric's $200, and we know this person is making $1,000 income, okay, well, we've figured out what the issue is here, right? This is not going to be sustainable for somebody to be able to pay their child support arrears, pay a current support obligation, and you know, and function, right? So really gives you an idea of this can be very helpful for getting an idea of what's going on for that family. And then we can also see if there are ways that we can connect you to resources to make some of these things a little bit easier. Again, getting a big picture helps us be able to connect you to resources, but also makes it so that we can determine per the state's calculator whether this is the right program for you. And then debts. This is an important part of the form as well, because really getting to the concept that, you know, a lot of times the reason why somebody is having a hard time with arrears is maybe they've got medical bills for themselves or their family, and that's how they ended up in this situation where they're having such a hard time. So getting all that information here, incredibly helpful. Do you owe any fines or fees in our court costs or money as a result of a court judgment? Not super common, but does happen. And then here we are at the bottom of the form. Make sure to sign it here, and then print your name here, and the date that you're filling this out. So then once you've signed it, you can submit it electronically to us at focinfo@geneseecountymi.gov, or you can submit it through the My Child Support website. If you have a My Child Support login, you'll be able to submit documents that way. That's one of the easiest and most secure ways to share information with our office. You can always mail this document to us at our office in Flint, 630 South Saginaw Street, Suite 2500, Flint, Michigan. Or you can drop it off at that same address. If you have transportation issues or are unable to get this form to us in any of those other ways, give us a call. We have staff that will come out to your house or your place of work or your family's residence, and we will help you fill this form out if you're having issues filling it out. And we will pick up that form and we will bring it into the office. So there's lots of opportunities to be able to get help filling out these forms. Any of the FOC forms that you're having issues with, those options exist for all of those forms. So please feel free to reach out to us if you need that type of assistance, if for whatever reason you're not able to make it in. Transportation can be difficult, and we recognize that, so we want to make sure that that's not something that gets in the way from people getting connected to the resources that they need for their family. As always, we're here to answer any questions about these forms. The process after filling out this form will be that we'll review it. It can take anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks to fill out this form, depending on the volume of other documents that we have coming in at the same time. And you will get a response either way from us, either saying yes, you qualify for this, and this is the amount of money that's going to be waived, or sorry, you don't qualify for the state's program related to this, and here are some of the other options that may be available to you: state arrears payment plan, or we'll reach out to you to talk about some other options as well. Sometimes people fill out this form and there are no state arrears, so that's one of the reasons why we can't do anything there. You can always reach out to us beforehand to see if there are state arrears, and if that's something that we'll be able to help you out with. As always, if there are any questions at any point as you're working through this, please feel free to reach out to the Genesee County Friend of the Court. We're here to serve.